Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. What we're going to talk about today, I like to give this talk, and I call it Human versus AI, and we're going to be building a mobile app with Vue.js, ML Kit, and NativeScript. So I just wonder how many folks are working with Vue.js? How many Vue leavers? Oh, a couple. Oh, that's great. Awesome. And how many mobile developers? NativeScript? Okay, I ripped out a whole bunch of NativeScript slides because I figured everybody would know this, so I'll just kind of try to talk it over as we go. No worries. Okay, so my name is Jen Looper, and I'm a senior developer advocate here at Progress. I'm also the founder and CEO of Vue Vixens, which is a diversity initiative that we have created within the Vue community. So we do workshops for free at various conferences. We modeled our program after NG Girls, and Vue Vixens, that's for the Angular community, and Vue Vixens is for the Vue community. So we do workshops, but we also have a really cool Slack channel where we do a lot of mentoring, and we really love to help not only sort of fix the pipeline as we go, but also we like to mentor mid-career women, because what we've found out, and statistically, is that some people get up to a certain level in their career, they hit a glass ceiling, and they get so frustrated they drop out. So we're trying to kind of make sure everybody stays engaged. Maybe once they hit that level in their career, maybe it's time to start doing conference talks. So we sort of get people on stage and get recognition and get them really integrated into the community. So it's a terrific program, and you can visit us at vuevixens.org. So I am also known in my department as a friend of bots. So I really enjoy doing strange little quirky things with chat bots and other kinds of bots, Slack bots. At one point, my boss here at Telerik at that time was chronically late to meetings. So I spun up a Slack bot, 5 after the hour, and every 5 minutes after there would be a little alert on Slack saying, "Burke, are you dead?" or something. So it's like this kind of thing. You can have a lot of fun with chat bots. It's a really cool domain to be in right now. There's a lot going on. So what's the agenda today? What are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about what is machine learning. So sort of the very basics of machine learning and where it's taking us nowadays. The next thing we're going to talk about is why. Why is machine learning so important, especially for us as developers? This is a critically important domain, and I really would love people to start really educating themselves. And this talk is all about getting past the scare barrier. It's a really daunting field. But I always say, I have a PhD in French, actually. I have, my mathematical skills are scary, scary bad. So I always say, if I can do it, you can do it. So this is sort of to get you kind of started thinking along the lines of learning about machine learning and using it in your apps. We're going to also talk about the how factor. How can machine learning help make more interesting mobile apps? So this is something that people are really looking into nowadays. It's really a really fun domain. Lots of cool things that we can build. And then finally, I'm going to discuss how I built an app using 2 new technologies, ML Kit and NativeScript-Vue. My colleague Shiva mentioned that this looks like NativeScript minus Vue. It's actually just NativeScript-Vue. So it's not like we yanked the Vue out of NativeScript. No, the Vue is totally integrated into the NativeScript. So what even is machine learning? Well, it's not really that, but I like this because it's cute. So the precious little machines and they're learning. So nice. This is from TJ. It's all his fault. He's a GIF master. But this is a slide I like to show, ripped straight from that lovely Coursera course that some of us have taken. If you go to Coursera and take a look at the course by Andrew Ng, I think it's called Intro to Machine Learning or something like that. It's a brutally difficult course that is literally hell on wheels for us who are not math wizards. But and also this guy, his style is to do kind of videos, but from a distance, kind of grainy, and he'll turn around awkwardly and start whiteboarding on his slides and turn around and explain. It's kind of hilarious. But with this machine learning course, he basically launched Coursera, so more power to him. So Andrew Ng, he was chief data science officer or chief data officer at Baidu and went to Stanford and launched these Coursera courses. So if you want to just do it, Nike style, just start with machine learning, I recommend this Coursera course. Just just force yourself, you know. The good news is that he's also relaunched this course and modernized it a little bit. I think it's DeepLearn.io. So go to DeepLearn.io, and now it's a suite of courses, you know, because we just can't get enough. And but he redid this course away from using Octave, and he is using TensorFlow, I believe, in this new course. So I think it's a little more appropriate for what we're looking to do. So what is machine learning? Well, the kind of basic Wikipedia example is, or definition is that machine learning is a way to give computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. This is a little bit simplistic, and it kind of anthropomorphizes computers like they're running around, you know, and learning things. And so this is a better definition. This is the classic definition by Tom Mitchell. In 1997, he said, a computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some class of tasks T and performance measure P if its performance of tasks T as measured by P improves with experience E. And I just want to highlight the really important word, which is improves. So what you're looking for is for the machine learning algorithms to improve their learning, to get better at recognizing stuff or at doing whatever task you're asking it to do. But for me personally, this kind of makes me sort of lie in a corner, fetal position, and cry. And so I like to talk about machine learning by means of emoji, because it sort of makes it a little more friendly. So I borrowed this idea from my colleague Tara, who is the master of GIF guides. So this is the emoji guide to machine learning. OK, let's go. So 3 types of machine learning I just want to kind of point out as being the kind of most common types. The first is supervised learning. So how does supervised learning work? This is kind of the most basic, run-of-the-mill, vanilla style of machine learning. So you're gathering a lot of data. You're dividing that data into a training set and a test set. Take your training set and give it labels. And you can do this via sending a whole bunch of data via Mechanical Turk for people to actually manually categorize it, or you can do this by some kind of sorting mechanism that you spin up yourself, or do it by hand. But you're going to categorize your training set. Do not categorize your test set. And then you're going to send this cleansed and spiffed up data to your machine learning algorithm. And then it's going to percolate a little bit. And then it's going to go ahead and I like to consider the test set at this point as making educated guesses. So the training set is going to be verifying the educated guesses that the test set is guessing. So it looks at an image and says, I think this is an apple. The test set validates. This is an apple. It is actually a dog. The training set is basically saying, no, try again, at which point you get an accuracy score, and you can try the process again so that you're improving your understanding of what's going on here. Another type of machine learning, which is a little more interesting, a little more mysterious, is unsupervised learning. Gather data. Go ahead and gather data. One of my favorite ways of gathering data. I like to gather data. And you're not going to give it any categories at all. At that point, send your somewhat uncleansed data to a self-teaching pattern recognizing algorithm. So this is a considerably more sophisticated algorithm. And it's going to figure out how the categories are assigned to the parts of the data, and it's going to sort of self-teach itself what things are, what it's looking at, what it's listening to. So it's a considerably more sophisticated algorithm. But it has this same iteration process. It makes these guesses and tries again. So unsupervised learning. And then another type of learning is actually reinforcement learning. And this is kind of where the folks at MIT start kind of getting a little concerned, because so my husband is in the EECS department, Electrical Engineering Computer Science department. And it's very interesting to go to faculty dinners with these guys, because they're looking at these sort of algorithms, and even they are wondering what the heck is going on here, And I think that if MIT has lost control of the algorithms, we're all screwed. But we're just going to do the best we can. So my husband also likes to talk about how AlphaGo has basically destroyed the game of Go. He's Chinese, so he really loves playing Go, and he's just like, they've just ruined everything. So here we are with our reinforcement learning, getting all fancy with this data. And the way to do this is you take reinforcement. You take your data, you don't give it any categories once again, and you send it to this extremely sophisticated algorithm, which has this concept of curiosity. So you're basically giving it harder and harder problems to solve and rewarding its curiosity. So this kind of learning is actually informed by cognitive science and psychology. I like to think of it as what happens when you let a bunch of moms, hit the data. So you beat the data and make sure it stays curious. But yeah, so again, we have the categorization happening kind of organically, and we have guesses being made and validations happening with the % of accuracy being returned. Very sophisticated stuff going on. Very interesting to watch the evolution of the field, and I think something that we can do this, right? We got it. We can figure this out. So there are some real interesting tools for machine learning that we can use right now today on our local, as long as you don't worry that your Mac is going to completely blow up. So my Mac gets really toasty, so it's great for winter. You just hold it on your lap and you run TensorFlow, and it's nice and toasty. Well, TensorFlow is available. They open sourced it at Google, and it's a nice library that we can use right now for machine learning on your local or in the cloud. I recommend going to Shiva's talk later on. I think it's tomorrow. And he's doing really interesting, sophisticated things with TensorFlow for mobile apps. If you want to learn about TensorFlow, there's a really great code lab called TensorFlow for Poets. I made you a bit.ly. And it allows you to kind of walk through how to handle data, how to send it to TensorFlow, how it kind of iterates through the data and learns and learns and learns and gives you back some answers to the questions you're asking. You're going to be categorizing flowers, and I believe what it does is it calculates, it's an image recognition algorithm, and it's looking at petal length and figuring out what kind of a flower it is. I think that's what's going on here. But very fun way to kind of get your feet wet in TensorFlow. Their code labs are really good. And there's a very interesting port for TensorFlow, which is normally accessed via Python. But this is a relatively newer project called TensorFlow.js. It's a JavaScript library for training and deploying machine learning models in the browser and on Node and using Node.js. And you can find this at js.tensorflow.org. And they have a really cool demo called the Emoji Scavenger Hunt. You basically run it in Chrome on your phone. It's not a mobile app, it's like a responsive web app. And you run around your house and you can, it'll say, find me a shoe, and you point it at a shoe, and you get a score. It's a really, really cool demo, and I'm sure they've open sourced the code as well. I think they have. So you can take a look at that stuff. So TensorFlow.js for us JavaScript developers, this is one more little tool that we can use to access this kind of complicated stuff. So yay for JavaScript. So just bookmark TensorFlow for now. We're going to come back to it in a minute. I have some other things to talk about in the meantime. I want to talk about machine learning in the wild and where we find it and where we access it, because I think what's happening nowadays is it's impacting our lives without us even realizing it. And I think it's really smart to be aware of where we're accessing machine learning, because that impacts how and where we're sending our own data towards these algorithms. So we just need to be aware of what's going on. One of the good uses of machine learning that I like to talk about is StitchFix. This is a box service that you can subscribe to that allows you to kind of pick the styles that you like, and it'll send you a box of about 5 items every month, and it starts to get really expensive because you feel guilty about sending things back, so you just kind of politely accept it. But it's really cool because it combines machine learning and human curation. So it's a nice kind of model that I think other companies could use. What the iteration loop here is that you as a user sign into StitchFix, so nice opt-in system, and you indicate your style preferences. You fill out a form, and they actually give you like Tinder for clothes. You swipe back and forth and say, I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this. And then it runs your input through this nice algorithm. A lot of data scientists in New York City and San Francisco are doing StitchFix. And what it's doing is it's building one of the most common use cases for machine learning, which is a recommendation engine. That's all it's doing. And it's also a little more sophisticated because it's not just taking your preferences and matching you to clothes. It's factoring in your location. Now, in Boston, we don't have the same style as in North Carolina or Florida or Texas. So it's looking at your location. It's doing a little bit of web surveying to see what's in fashion in your area. in your season. So it's quite sophisticated looking at what would be a good thing at this time. Apparently right now, I think plaid and booties are in style. So good to know. And it connects you as a shopper to your stylist. My stylist is Rebecca. I think she's really nice, and I'm pretty sure she's a human. And she curates and ships you a nice box of expensive clothes. And then you give your feedback. Either you buy it, which is yay, or return it, which is a nay. So this nice loop is created. And in theory, you're getting more and more cool stuff. Although once she sent me a pair of shorts, and I was like, nope. So I wrote her a note. No shorts. Anyway, the result being that you can feel free to walk down the street looking absolutely fabulous, because that's where we all want to be at the end of the day, right? There are also some scary uses of machine learning. This, I didn't realize, but this image somebody mentioned to me has been around for a couple of years already. So this is coming from surveillance cameras in Asia, and it's identifying every single person on the street by name. So this is something that happens when you install a lot of surveillance cameras. And not to call out China, apparently when I talked about this in London, they said, well, actually the most surveilled country is city is actually London. There's tons and tons and tons of surveillance cameras up over there. But if you install a ton of surveillance cameras and watch and watch and watch, you're going to get really good at facial recognition, right? Everybody's face is mapped all of the points. And then when people are all registered already in a database, you can match the points of the face to their IDs. And you can do interesting things like monitoring group emotions and seeing if everybody looks pissed off. Maybe you can offer a sale or something, make everybody feel better. Of course, you can track location. It's not like Uber doesn't do this. We know this, right? We called them out on it. So lots of sketchy, scary, opt-out types of things going on nowadays. And for me, this is a big nope. I am not interested particularly in being surveilled. I'm the one who's looking under the bed in my hotel rooms, just to make sure. So just something to just be aware of these things that are going on. But there are good and bad use cases of machine learning in the wild. One that is my very favorite happened right here in Boston. And the Boston Public Schools realized that I believe $32 million of their budget was going towards school bus routes. Maybe you've heard this story. It hit the Boston Globe a little while ago. And the school district went to MIT. Smart idea, right? Go to MIT and say, hey, kids, let's have a hackathon. And so they asked the students to go ahead, take the data that they have of student location, probably, hopefully not too personal, and create an algorithm to optimize the school bus routes. And they came back. The winning team managed to eliminate 50 superfluous bus routes. They did save $3 to $5 million. This is pretty serious amount of money saved. That's great. They also put 50 union bus drivers out of work. So this is just these things that we need to be cognizant of. We are the developers. At some point, some slick boss is going to come to you and say, let's do X. And you can just kind of think, let's think down the road, what are the ramifications for what we're doing? I just think it's a useful thing that we as developers, we are the builders, and we have a say. So something to think about. Like I say, with great power comes great responsibility. But let's just talk about using machine learning on your mobile device. I have a slide out of order here. But anyway, what we can do, once we've decided that the ethics of what we're being asked to do is cool, we can start thinking about building a machine learning powered app on our mobile device. And it's really nice to think about using machine learning on mobile because these suckers are packed with sensors. And you can have all these mobile apps that get more and more interesting data, and they're able to collect it and process it. So a very useful thing to have. So as app developers, we have this interesting new arsenal, the ability to make our apps either more smarter by creating an entire app around machine learning, like, for example, this one, which is Seeing AI. It's done by Microsoft to the right. It's what it does, it has several things that it can do. It can read barcodes, but I like to show it a bunch of paper money, which in the US is all the same size, so a blind person could never figure out by feel what they're looking at, a 50, 100, or whatever. You can point Seeing AI at it, and it'll tell you, the denomination that it's looking at. So an entire app built around different ways to help blind people use objects around them. That's Seeing AI, app by Microsoft. And then there's this app called Shazam. Anybody seen this TV show called Beat Shazam? I think I'm the only one that's ever watched the show. But they have a panel of people, and they play a tiny clip of music, and then they send it to Shazam, and then the people try to recognize it faster than Shazam will recognize it. And it's actually astonishing. The people are usually better than Shazam, which surprises me because I'm really bad at this. So it's kind of neat. But you can build, as an app developer, you have the possibility to build an entire app around a machine learning algorithm. Or you can do something a little more sophisticated, and if you already have an app, you can use little machine learning touches. And this is a cool thing. The only reason I still have Facebook on my mobile device is because of the Facebook Marketplace. I like to sell my stuff. I have recently moved, so we had a lot of furniture to get rid of. And what you can do is you can take a picture of your chair. It's not a very good picture, but it'll give you, it'll look at the picture and it'll give you a little suggestion of how much you can charge for it. So I really appreciate this. This is super, super useful. And it's just a little, image recognition algorithm, nothing super fancy, but it just looks around in your location and on Facebook and figures out what people are selling for what price and gives you a little tip on how much you can charge. I really like that. Another one is Spotify, which has the kind of classic recommendation engine. Excuse my weird taste in music, but it does give me daily mixes and suggestions. Builds me a lot of cool suggestions, and you can discover new music this way. And it's totally, opt-in. You're already on Spotify, but it is listening. Just FYI, it is listening to what you're listening to, and I think it's also testing how if you skip to a new song because perhaps you don't like it. So it's seeing how long you listen to something and giving you some recommendations based on that. So my recommendation engine is always a weird mix of chicha and trap music and Arabic pop. So yeah, anyway. So back to reality. We talked a little bit about what machine learning is, how we as mobile developers can use it. Let's talk about how we can use it right now and what we can do to start integrating machine learning into our apps right now. So I think that I've sort of given this idea that do-it-yourself machine learning is hard. You have to have TensorFlow running on your machine. Actually, the hardest part is not TensorFlow, it's getting good data, getting clean data that you can sort through. I really want to enhance the app that I'm going to show you, but I just have not had time to get good quality data. So we'll get there, but it just takes a ton of time. You need a lot of firepower. This machine is borderline. You can do it in the cloud, but that's going to cost you money. You need a lot of skills, especially if you start tweaking algorithms yourself. I think it's beyond me, but anyway, Shiva can do it. But let's try to make do-it-yourself machine learning just a little easier, perhaps by trying a third-party service. Why not, right? Well, there are some really interesting third-party services out there. One I don't have on here, but I'm learning more about is Cognitive Services, which is Microsoft's version of this. But there's Clarify. Any folks taking a look at Clarify? They're in New York City. They have heroically fought off being acquired. Well, I put a little frowny face next to it because I just found out, I've been singing their praises for years, and I just found out they're doing some really sketchy things with the Defense Department and making machine learning algorithms for uses by drones to kill people more easily. I'm not really excited about this one, so they're kind of in trouble for that. So Clarify, yeah, great they're terrific at image recognition. And here we go with the ethics again. So the other one is Google Cloud Platform. We've been feeding our images into Google for years, right? A little presents for Google. They've been analyzing the heck out of it. So Google Cloud Platform will eventually cost you some money. So I put a little flying money next to it. These are all third-party services that you can use. But what if you could just use machine learning on your device? What if you could use it with a plugin and you didn't have to make these REST API calls back and forth all the time? What if you need offline capability? If you are making external calls, your offline app is never going to work, especially if you need something a little bit performant and fast. What if you need to train something really custom? You can do this in Google Cloud and you can do it on Clarify, but again, you need to use their servers, so they're going to charge you for it. I think that's actually their business plan. That's how they're going to make money. Well, back to TensorFlow. See, I told you we'd get there. So TensorFlow, they went open source. You can do it on your own, and they're making TensorFlow Lite available for us as developers. So TensorFlow is available for your big processing, and then they have this other library that we can use called TensorFlow Lite. It was initially called TensorFlow Mobile, but then they decided to port it for Raspberry Pi and renamed it to TensorFlow Lite. So they're having a lot of fun at Google. I think it must be a great job. And they they ported TensorFlow Lite for low-end Androids, and it works for iOS and Android out of the box. I really appreciate that they had launched for iOS. I'm an iOS developer, so I like that they made this thing available to us out of the box. And when we start talking about TensorFlow Lite, we can start looking at this service that they've spun up for us called ML Kit. And yes, it's still beta, but we don't care. So it's very, very cool, very hot, and it's a third-party service, but you can make it your own. What does ML Kit offer out of the box? Well, it offers some very interesting things like image labeling, which we've been looking over and over again in this talk. It can identify objects, products. It offers text recognition. I would love to be able to take text recognition and make an expense report app. You know, you can like hover over your expenses and feed that to Workday. I think I'm going to make a lot of money with that one. Face recognition, yay, opt out for me, no thanks. And barcode scanning and landmark detection. It can tell the difference between this or that bridge. Very useful for some apps, probably. And this is all ready for us out of the box in ML Kit for free, open source today. So this is super cool. So how does it work? Interestingly enough, they've piggybacked ML Kit on top of Firebase, which seems weird until you realize that this is where all your app data comes in. It flows through Firebase. And then it's kind of all available for ML Kit. So you can see that Google's like, they're thinking about how to, you know, well, honestly, how to grab our data. But here we are. This is the world we live in today. But ML Kit, from a technical standpoint, it bundles together Google Cloud Vision API, TensorFlow Lite, which I just mentioned, the Android Neural Networks API. These three bits go into the single SDK, and it works on device for you. You can use it offline. So very, very sweet. Well, let's go ahead and build a mobile app using ML Kit. What kind of tools would you use for this? We already decided on ML Kit. That's cool. Well, I really like using Vue.js. I like using it with NativeScript, and together, this makes NativeScript-Vue. So this is a really awesome project created by our friend Igor, who is a developer expert, and he is at NStudio. And whenever I see this picture, I think he's thinking, leave the oven on. I just like, Igor. I love this picture. But he is a brilliant student out of Hungary who just decided to port NativeScript for Vue. And God love him. This is amazing. Well, what did he do? He created NativeScript-Vue, which is a custom implementation of Vue.js, but for mobile. So it's Vue.js, but for mobile. Now we're at 2.02, I believe. And it's in an interesting state. It's evolving alongside of Vue. So Vue is in the process of upgrading its CLI. So there's Vue 2, and you can use Vue CLI 3. And then Vue itself is going to version 3 sometime in 2019. And we're going to work with the team and make sure that we're ready for that, because things are going to change. So I'm very excited to watch the evolution of both of these kind of new tools that we can use. Visit nativescript-vue.org if you would like more details. Why would you go ahead and use Vue for NativeScript? We've already got an awesome Angular implementation, or you can use NativeScript with no framework at all, right? Or just TypeScript. Well, I like to use Vue because I like to have some kind of framework. Otherwise, you know, I get a little scrambled. And it's really cool because its adoption of the virtual DOM enables native mobile rendering. Angular 2 did the same thing. When Vue hit 2, it decoupled the DOM away from the framework so that you can go ahead and create these native layouts, and you're not kind of tightly coupled to the web. So it's a perfect port for NativeScript. Vue offers a great way for web developers to embrace mobile platforms via either NativeScript or Wix. I don't know if you've heard of Wix, but it's a project out of Alibaba. They're kind of the giants on whose shoulders we're standing. So I have a lot of appreciation for Wix. They open source their stuff. And it's basically, again, Vue plus JavaScript for mobile. And it's great. The only problem is the documentation's in Chinese, so it's a little hard to access. But God love them. They did a great job. Vue is also lightweight. It's highly appropriate for mobile. I really like the way it feels on a mobile device. The startup time is fast. And then we're working on this, but it has the potential to have a fantastic code sharing story. So I'm really looking forward to how this is going to work. If you want to try NativeScript-Vue, you can go ahead and go to the playground. Are you all familiar with the playground? NativeScript playground? Oh my. Accept cookies. Vue. Well, that's exciting. I must be on a different persona. OK, so when you go to the NativeScript playground, you have this opportunity to use these playground apps. So I'll just show my phone up here. And I'll go to the playground and scan this QR code. It has to shuffle through. Obviously, we've been having some fun with the NativeScript playground. Come on. OK, it sees my phone. Let's try. Let's try to make a change and see if it'll refresh for me. There it is. To give it a little boost. OK, so this is your basic playground experience, and it has support for single file components with Vue. So in a typical NativeScript-Vue app, you'll have your CSS here, and then this is where you bootstrap your app with this nice render function. It's picking up this component, hello world, and here is your single file component. Every Vue single file component will have a template block, and this is where you're going to have your NativeScript code. So these are all NativeScript components. The markup, the biggest trick to understanding NativeScript-Vue is to understand the way we do markup. So a lot of Vue web developers will come in and be a little confused, but they just need to learn how to do NativeScript layouts, and then they're off to the races. Then you have a nice script block here, and then you can have some styles here. But you can start really enjoying things like changing styles. Let's see if this works. Background color red. This is going to be gorgeous. Awesome. So, there's a thing of beauty and a joy forever once you start actually designing an app. But this is a great way to just try the experience, get used to using single file components in NativeScript-Vue. The playground is really fantastic. We really love it. OK, so I just wanted to show you that as a good way to try. Here we go. OK. And it's at play.nativescript.org. So let's put MLKit to the test with NativeScript-Vue. Well, to do that, I created a blockbuster game. It's called Pick Me. It's a game testing MLKit's accuracy and speed on device. You can actually use it offline. I'm feeding it a bunch of pictures, confusing pictures, and seeing if I can identify them by swiping left or right, and whether the bot will be faster than me in identifying. So, because the ultimate challenge for image recognition comes from Karen Zach, who is Teeny Biscuit on Instagram, and she has a massive collection of confusing pictures. So there's like Labradoodle versus fried chicken. There's parrot versus guacamole. There's kitten versus caramel. There's a lot of sketchy stuff in there. So what I did is I scraped all this stuff off of Instagram, cut up these pictures, and I'm sending them to MLKit. And I'll show you how it looks in just a second. So how I did it, how did I build this thing? So I used the Vue CLI template. I used 3 plugins, and I used Vuex. Vuex is Vue's state management library. So to scaffold yourself using the CLI, once you get away from Playground and start using the CLI, you can scaffold yourself an app. This is the Vue CLI 2 way of doing things. Vue CLI 3 plugin is coming soon. But for the moment, you can go ahead and easily scaffold yourself up a nice app using this system. It's Vue init, NativeScript-Vue template, and then just give it an app name, and it'll give you some presets that you can use, and it'll generate a nice app for you. And then you can start developing something interesting. So the next thing, when you start with your NativeScript app development, you're going to need some nice plugins. So I used the swipe layout, so I can swipe left and right to identify pictures. I used card views, because in the swipe layout, I wanted some cards. And then I have to use the Firebase plugin, because as we know, MLKit is bundled on top of Firebase. So to use the NativeScript Firebase plugin, all you have to do is import it and initialize it, and you're off to the races. At that point, I started building the UI. So I have this swipe layout, and it's looking through a list of images and displaying the images in a card. So it's a grid layout, and then nested is a card. So that works nicely. And then I just have to send the image that I see on the screen towards MLKit. And to do that, I just query MLKit on device. So I show it an image, and then I'm asking right here, in the second arrow right here, I'm just asking for some labels to be sent back. So it's going to send me back, I think it's a bird, I think it's a fish, I think it's a Labradoodle. And then I ask for a score to be given to me, whether the bot is accurate or not. And to get the score, I have a some hard-coded identifications of the images. So the barn owl is image 1, 4, 5, 7, et cetera. And then I had to hard code some answers that MLKit is giving me just to give it an accuracy reading. And then I use a Vuex to keep score. This is one of my favorite slides because it shows that for a Vue web developer, there is no difference in using Vuex for web or mobile. It's really nice. So a very clean way of keeping your state, and it's great for score keeping in a game. So that's what I used it for. And here's your result. So the result is you're going to be looking at images, and you're going to be figuring out whether it's Dalmatian or chocolate ice cream. And the bot is thinking as fast as it can and giving me some readings. And then there's a score at the bottom here. So chocolate versus Dalmatian. This is actually pretty tricky. Puppies. And honestly, usually the human beats the bot, so full disclosure. But it's still fun to try. So I would love for someone to hop right on up here and try to beat the bot. So I'm going to open this fabulous game, and I would love to see a hand up in the air to try one of these interesting images. We have barn owls or apples, chihuahuas, muffins, chocolate, Dalmatian, croissant or dog, kitten or caramel, labradoodle, fried chicken, parrot, guacamole, puppy, bagel, sheepdog or mop, which is actually super cute, Shiba or marshmallow, fruit or kiwi, sloth or bread, and then there's one we're probably not going to do. So unless you talk me into it. Anybody want to try to beat the bot? Come, come, come. OK, come on. So you can pick which one you'd like.
In honor of Shiba, who never had a bagel before this morning.
Haha. OK, so you're going to swipe. Yeah. But look how fast MLKit is. And we could do this offline. Go, Dave. Did you win? Yes.
Nice.
Good job. Awesome. Anybody want to try kitten versus caramel? It's the cutest. Kitten versus caramel. It's a little kitten. So cute. Come. Come on, I'm doing serious things here. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is the model already trained here?
What it is it's a generic model, and it comes bundled up trained. But if you want to train something custom, so you start the game, then you can compress the model, and MLKit can make use of that. So it kind of depends on what you want. This is super generic, as you can tell. It's like fast food, you know. Just swiping. Yeah, there you go.
I need to click, right?
Nope, just swipe. Ooh, that was tight. I think the bot won. Oh! Excellent work. Should I do Trump versus chicken?
Trump versus chicken.
All right, you talked me into it. Yes! OK, we're going to close that app and stop violating the code of conduct here. And, and I'm going to go ahead and say thank you so much for coming. And I'm happy to take questions. I'm happy to take questions. That was actually a really good question. Yes?
I'm not a Vue user, so can you describe what Vuex is? Is it like Redux or?
Exactly. It's like Redux. Yep. Yeah. It's. I think they might be doing a little rewrite on it coming up soon, but everything in Vue land is evolving very, very fast. So it's good fun. I'm going to get the guy back in the back.
When you run it on the phones, how is the performance increase as phones have exponentially gotten faster and faster?
The question is how. Well, this is something you're going to want to ask Shiva. Shiva has created a way for training to happen on the actual phone. I'm just using something that's kind of pre-baked that MLKit offers, so it's fast and you can use it offline. So strongly recommend going to his talk, because he's doing way more interesting stuff than I am. But this is fun for getting started. Yeah, Dave?
For the packages that have all the learning bundled in, what's the file size like for what you need to have installed in the app?
For MLKit, you need to use it with a Firebase plugin, and with Webpack, you can get these apps down to a reasonable size. It doesn't add a huge amount. However, when you're using your own custom models, I'm going to guess that it's going to go up a little bit. You have to be super careful. You have to freeze your model and compress it using TensorFlow Lite, and then you can use it. I think this is how it's working. Yeah, so you need to be careful, and that's an excellent question, because I think if you're not careful, the thing will just blow up. Yeah, and that's why Google Translate's app does not have all the models downloaded right away when you need to use it. So if you want, like when I'm in Bulgaria, before I go, I always download the Bulgarian model, and then I delete it because it adds a huge amount just for translating. So it's kind of like opt-in to blow up your phone. So.
That app you just showed, is that on GitHub?
It is. It's. I know everyone wants to take this and just make $1 million. So I'm just. If anyone could fix the memory leak that's in there, I'd be really happy. Yeah, it's my GitHub handle is JLooper, and it's just called PicMe, P-I-C-M-E, PicMe. So, yeah.
For like the 3 kinds of machine learning, what kind of machine learning is allowed?
Is what's being used by MLK. I'm pretty sure it's just supervised. Yeah, because it's super generic. You can tell they're like, okay, that's probably skin-ish type looking thing, so we'll just categorize it as skin. Yeah, nothing too fancy. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much for being an awesome audience.